Hello, and welcome to Preemie Chats, a place for parents and healthcare professionals to gather, share stories, and learn from each other. My name is Jenna Morton. I'm one of 3 co-hosts who present this weekly series on behalf of the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation. I'm a career broadcast journalist and mom to 3 NICU grads, including preemie twins who were born at 32 weeks and are now 12 years old. I live and work in Mi'kma'ki, outside of Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. Well, Canadian Premature Babies Foundation is a parent-led charity that helps families during and after their NICU time through education, support, and advocacy. I hope that you can take some time today to visit our website. You can see it there on the screen, canadianpreemies.org. You will find all kinds of resources, including links to all of our previous preemie chats. We have 3 years of these videos there for you to watch. We have all kinds of resources for families, for healthcare providers. Most importantly, there are all kinds of ways that you can become connected to this community of parents and professionals who are working together to help our children thrive. Well, of course, this is a parent-led foundation, and very much we want you to feel like you are part of the conversation. I would love to have you let us know in the comments where you're joining us from and what brings you to us, whether you are a preemie parent, grandparent, family member, healthcare provider, a grown preemie, whatever your interest might be in this discussion. I would love for you to drop a note in the comments. Let us know what brings you here and where you're watching from. And certainly as we go through and listen to today's presentations, if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comments in the chat, and we will have an opportunity at the end of the presentation to address some of those. Well, many of us have an instinct to speak and to sing to our infants, and today's guest wants to help us understand why that is, the science behind why your voice matters, literally. My guest today has been at the forefront of music therapy for NICU families for the past 15 years. Dr. Alexandra Ullsten is a clinical and research-based therapist in Sweden. She is credited with bringing neonatal music therapy into the Swedish healthcare system and expanding her influence beyond that as well, training with people in Norway and Finland. She is the principal investigator for the groundbreaking SweepUp project, which she's going to talk to us about today. Welcome to Preemie Chats.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and to share some of your knowledge and what you've been working on. I'm really looking forward to this presentation.
Thank you. And I would like to present for you today a subject that is close to my heart, really. Shall we start?
Yes.
Yes. And the subject is to democratize singing, to include and acknowledge parents' intuitive vocalizations during painful procedures in neonatal care and beyond. And as you said, I've been working for 15 years as a neonatal music therapist and as a music and art therapist for 19 years now. I'm also doing my postdoc research. As you can see on the map there, that's where I am located, Central Hospital in Karlstad, Sweden. It's about 2.5 hours east from Oslo, the capital in Norway, and 2.5 hours west from the capital in Sweden, Stockholm. And I do a lot of research at the Örebro University, also at School of Health Sciences. I would like to declare that I have no financial interests that relate to the research and content described in this presentation, but I'm very dedicated to help infants, children, and their parents to a life without pain. And in this picture, you can see parts of my work at the NICU in Karlstad. I have an ongoing implementation work of parent-led pain management in inpatient and outpatient neonatal care. And in this picture, you can see parents of twins. I'm preparing them before a blood sampling procedure. They sit skin to skin. The mother is breastfeeding, and we are all singing together children's songs that are significant for this family. And this is a collaboration with the parents, nurses, and me as a music therapist at the NICU in Sweden. Yes, we continue. I would like just to present the NICU unit in Karlstad. It was the first NICU in the Nordic countries to implement a family-centered neonatal music therapy program, and I started this implementation in March 2010. And I work in this level 2 unit. It was built a new level 2 unit in March 2013. Before that, the infants were cared for in open bay unit. And this is still, I would say, one of the most modern NICUs in Sweden, and we have only single family rooms with this was a great facility to work in now compared to the old open bay unit. As a music therapist, you can imagine it's better for all the families if one infant at a time will hear the music or the singing in the room. We have 13 beds. It's a small unit, including 3 intensive care beds, 60 employed healthcare workers, and we have something called neonatal couplet care. So if the mother is ill after giving birth, she is cared for. She's cared for in the NICU together with her ill, sick infant. So they are cared for together on the same place. So 0 separation is very important in this unit. And I also work with siblings because they are welcome to stay in the family rooms around the clock. So, what do I do as a neonatal music therapist in the NICU? Well, it's all about building relations through family-centered cross-cultural parent-infant attachment support, family-centered early psychosocial and developmental support for the long-stay patients from 32 weeks and up. We have infants, we care for infants in this unit from 28 weeks and up. And I do a lot of psychoeducational work with the parents from 28 and up. But the music therapy with singing together, it's from 32 weeks and up. So I do a lot of stress reduction in the family, strengthening parenting capacities, such as sensitive responsiveness. It's about support for siblings and families together with the infant. And I also, of course, coach parents to participate in pain management. And I will come back to my research project, SWEPAP, later on. So I would like to quote a well-known researcher, a psychologist, Manuela Filippa. She says like this about early vocal contact. So early vocal contact is a sensory and interactive intervention provided directly by parents using infant-directed speech and songs. And this approach aligns with family-centered interventions when it seeks to reactivate innate parenting abilities that might otherwise be latent in the circumstance of preterm birth. So, what are we talking about when we talk about early vocal contact and singing? Next, we are moving on. Well, I would like to say that a parent's singing is love and safety embodied in sound. And this starts early. Research shows that the mother's voice is a multisensory and multimodal event prenatally as well as after birth. And the musical qualities of the mother's voice are salient in the perinatal experience of speech, enculturation, and attachment. Moving on. So the parent's voice is a medium to communicate emotions and is highly attractive for the infant listener. That is why we have to use also the parent's voice in the NICU and also during painful procedures, because it's really a communication tool to safeguard the infant and to forgive the infant this safety and predictability of the mother's voice and the father and the partner. So why singing? Well, infants show more sustained interest in parents' infant-directed singing than in infant-directed speech. And why is that? Well, we know from research that the singing is more predictable. It's a communication that is repetitive and it's soothing. So when the parent is talking using infant-directed speech to the infant is more random and is more variations in the speech than in the singing. We continue. So what we're talking about in painful situations, we're talking about a lullaby. And the soothing and comforting emotion regulation properties of a lullaby are well known cross-culturally and historically. We can read a lot about that in the literature. So what signifies a lullaby? Well, it's a simple repetitive melody. It should be sung in a quiet and stable dynamics in slow tempo with a soothing soft voice and timbre, and preferably in rocking meters, but it will work in 4/4 time also. So what does this give the infant kind of experience if we move on? Well, this lullaby singing, especially from the parents, will regulate the arousal levels of the infant, but not just infant. That is the fine thing with this singing. When the parent sings for her infant or for the infant, the parent himself or herself will be calm too, because when you sing, you breathe deeply and deep breath will relax you, so your arousal levels will also decrease. And this soothing, it's small risk for overstimulation when you use this kind of singing. It's fine-tuned to the age and affective state of the infant, and it will give the infant a pleasant multisensory cultural experience, because when you sing, you probably choose the songs that you have heard when you were little, and the songs that you use in your culture and you in your family, and that will you pass on to your infant. Thank you. Um, so what I do a lot with the parents in my NICU is the pre-procedural support. I do a lot of psychoeducation with parent-delivered lullaby singing. And why is that? Well, we know from the literature that a well-informed and emotionally stable parent is a powerful agent of pain relief. So I propose that the parents' live singing is a preventive, protective, and developmental intervention in neonatal care and in during painful procedures. And some of you might say, well, I'm not a singer, I don't have a voice. Well, I always says to the parents, you have the voice, and that is the voice that is significant for just your infant, because that is the voice the infant has heard from the beginning. So some parents might find it difficult to sing in shared spaces in the NICU, but that is why we have the profession, the specialist, the music therapist that can assist parents to feel comfortable with their voice and use singing to create a nurturing and stimulating environment for their infant during hospitalization and during painful procedures. And I've read in the research that it really goes very quickly from the situation where the parent feel very insecure about the voice and singing until it sings along with the infant very comfortable. It goes very quickly. So you do everything for your infant, don't you? So I would like to share a video here with you because this is how I work during my working days with parents, preparing them for the blood sampling procedures with skin-to-skin contact, breastfeeding if possible, but always the singing present. So this family you are going to meet, they are not musically trained. Their son was born in week 35, and this is an example of preparing for blood sampling. And as you will see, this is not just singing. There's a lot of communication going on in this moment. 1 minute. Okay, play. the video play. Love embodied in sound. We continue. So what is really happening here? Why should we have singing present during painful procedure and in the NICU? As I said, I work with attachment interplay with attachment according to attachment theories. So I work with the interplay in the parent-infant dyad, and this attachment interplay is biopsychosocial. It's physiological, it's psychological, and it's social. And the live singing, the parents' live singing, is also a biopsychosocial communication. And when we come to pain, pain is also a biopsychosocial phenomenon. So here you can see how these three perspectives kind of match each other. So what I'm doing, the music therapist, is role modeling and mentoring the parents to use their own voice with their infant to enhance mutual co-regulation, interaction, attachment, pain alleviation, and regulation, physiological regulation, and it's a social communication going on here because all this will promote salutogenesis. But what can we know about parents singing from that research? Well, not so much, I'm afraid. This is an article that I wrote together with colleagues a couple of years ago now, a scoping review, and we saw there was a vanishingly small amount of research articles addressing the parents' voices as a resource in neonatal pain management. And none of these studies are informed by music therapy research. I mean, music therapy research is really specialized in this kind of using music as a tool and singing as a tool to achieve other goals. We continue. And another rationale for involving parents is that research shows that most parents wish to be active and involved in alleviating their infant's pain during procedures. But to be able to deliver pain management, parents need information, guidance, and encouragement. And it's so essential that nurses and other healthcare professionals support the parents in how, when, and why to alleviate infant pain with, for example, singing their own voice. Okay, so what I did in my doctoral thesis was to propose a theory how to involve both the parents and the music therapist and the music therapy research in pain management in neonatal care. So at that time, 2019, this was just theory. This was not tested yet. But the idea was that we should have a pre-procedure phase where the families is comfortable with singing, and then they use the singing together with everything else that is necessary in the painful procedure, sucrose, glucose, of course, and the skin-to-skin contact and breastfeeding if possible, but not to forget the parents' voices in this. And the Nordic neonatal music therapy pain management strategy, which I called it, could be translated into a resource-oriented psychoeducational service for parents and will be useful for music therapists in the NICU to use. But in that time, I was very focused on the recovery, the procedure and the recovery stage. So this model, if we continue, has been the base for this project, which I'm the principal investigator for, Parents as Pain Management in Swedish Neonatal Care, which is a two-part project, a multi-center interdisciplinary mixed methods research project in Sweden. And this is the fabulous research group that I'm leading. As a music therapist, I work with nurses, professors in nursing science, and other associate professors in nursing, and from four various regions, healthcare regions in the middle of Sweden. So, based on the Nordic NICU music therapy pain management strategy that I proposed in my thesis, we designed this project, the SWEPAP design, and we said we would like to combine parent-delivered interventions and test it in reality. Is it feasible? Is it doable? Is it efficient? So we designed this procedural preparation stage with 10 minutes of preparation where the parents is sitting skin to skin and singing a lullaby for the infant. And then we added the breastfeeding, if possible, if applicable, 2 minutes before venipuncture. All this combination, all these parent-delivered intervention continued during the venipuncture and a few minutes afterwards, and that was the parents that assessed when to stop singing. And the first study, which is published, and you can find it online, open access for free, was a qualitative feasibility study with collaborative participatory action research design. And that means that also the parents are part of doing the research. They are experts on their perspective, and we wanted to include that perspective in the study, and the nurses' perspective. And we did observations and interviews, and we were investigating the parents' and nurses' experiences of providing combined parent-delivered pain management during venipuncture. And we could also conclude that most parents in the study were musically untrained. The parents used familiar lullabies that knew from before, and the parents wanted the songs to be easy to sing and repeat. Well, they were singing for 10 minutes at least. Well, they were singing for at least 50 minutes in some cases, some procedures. Well, if we continue, this is the article that was published last year, and the next slide, I will present the results. And it's so interesting. As I said before, I was so focused on the last stage in this model strategy that I proposed, the recovery. But what we found in our study here was that preparation is key. Preparation facilitates participation for the parents and closeness between the parent and the infant. So results from the interviews with parents and nurses show that the parents' live lullaby singing facilitated participation and closeness during a painful procedure, and all participants described the combined parent-delivered interventions as feasible, decreasing pain stress for the infant. And I would just say that in this talk, I will focus, of course, more on the lullaby singing. But as you know, skin-to-skin contact is pain alleviating, as well as breastfeeding. There is a lot of research done, 25 years of research on these methods. So we know this. But parent singing is a new, quite unexplored adjuvant to pain management. So this was interesting to hear. Is it feasible to include this together with skin-to-skin contact and breastfeeding? Parents, nurses, and researchers perceived that all infants were calm and showed no or minor signs of pain during the procedures when performing the combined parent-delivered pain management for the study. And this gave a feeling of success and pride for both parents and nurses. Next. The parents felt that the singing made them shift their attention more toward their infant, and that they became more present in the moment, closer to their infant, and more responsive to their infant's signals. So what we see when we add the parents' voices, and especially the parents singing, into this context and into this combination, we see that it adds an extra dimension into the situation. And the parents' live lullaby singing also enabled the parents to focus on their infant instead of the procedure. So even parents with needle phobia remained calm as the singing helped them relax, singing, deep breathing, relaxing. Okay. So, just a quote here from one of the parents in the study. She said like this: "From the beginning to the end of the situation, the room was very calm. There was no small talk in the room, just my singing, giving everyone peace and quiet, for me as a parent, my infant, and for the staff as well." So the parents experienced a feeling of harmony, connecting to both each other and their infant. The family's state of mind spread from the parent-infant diet to the nurses as well, resulting in minimal unnecessary conversations in the room that would have disturbed the infant in the situation. And all infants were calmed and showed no or minor signs of pain. Yes. Another parent said like this: "It felt like we came closer and that I was more present in the situation. With the humming, it was like making some sort of contact. It was something more that helped my infant, and that felt good." So both parents and nurses described how the parents' live singing during the blood sampling created a calm, trusting, and loving atmosphere in the room. One of the nurses said, "I felt really calm. I think that the singing creates a peaceful atmosphere, and it is impossible to feel stressed in this setting." So the nurses also felt calmed by the parents singing and said that it reduced their stress, as well as that they could focus more on performing the procedure. So, with combined parent led pain management, the parents experience the feeling of becoming part of a team supporting their own infant. And the parents felt encouraged to continue to be active in their infant's pain management. And the parents also expressed that staff encouragement was essential to becoming involved. And now we have the part 2. The article is submitted. So I have not so many results to disclose yet, but I'll give you some words on the way. So what we did in the second part of the SweepPad was to test these combined parent-led interventions with a multi-center randomized control trial. So we're testing the efficacy of combined pain management with skin-to-skin contact, breastfeeding, and live parental lullaby singing during a routine blood sampling procedure. We recruited 225 dyads, newborn healthy infants, and parents from 3 hospitals. And why did we recruit healthy infants and term infants? Well, it's still unexplored area, this, so we wanted to safeguard everyone's health in this part. And we did a randomization into 3 groups. We had the standard care on the examination table with glucose, but the parents were still there in the room next to the infant, giving glucose also. We had one group with skin-to-skin contact only, and then we have the combined group with the parents, parent-led interventions. And we measured infant pain expressions with the PIP-R assessment tool. We measured infants' arousal intensity and sweat gland activity. So in this picture, you can see we put electrodes under the infant's foot and measured the sweat gland activity there, the sweating and the stress, supposedly to be assessment of the pain. And the other foot was heart rate and saturation. And we also did VAS ratings, so parents' pain assessment. And we can see some of the results here. If you see on the VAS scale here, it's in Swedish, the questions, but the parents, they were assessing on these scales the infant pain on the first row line. The second line was parental stress, their own stress as a parent. And the third VAS scale was how meaningful was this parent-led intervention to perform in this situation. One mother said, "With this combination, I did not even feel my needle phobia. My fear of needles was much worse with him on the examination table and me as a bystander. Having him close and sing felt so cozy. Imagine that a blood sampling procedure could be so pleasant and intimate. It went so well, and I felt I was in control and was actively involved." And these words are so important when a parent can say, "I am in control, not the nurse, not everyone else, but I can feel my baby near." And as you can see in the VAS scales, if you back yes. So the results of this study, we found out that the parents assessed in all three groups actually the infant pain very low, and their own stress was very low too, and all parents were very pleased with delivering these interventions to their infants. So we have high scores on meaningfulness. Thank you. So what we will hopefully contribute to is to close the knowledge to practice gap and facilitate change of clinical practice to alleviate infant pain, to update guidelines to include parent-provided pain management, also including the parents' live singing, and acknowledge parents' voices in pain management. And if I would like to speak from my profession and my perspective, to also acknowledge music therapy expertise in neonatal pain management practice and pain research. And if you would like to find updated information on parent-led pain management, I published narrative review and update of research and practices together with Marcia Campbell-Yeo, that you might know, and Professor Mats Eriksson, my colleague here in Sweden at Örebro University. And you can look into this article for free, open access, and read more about the current situation and research about parent-led pain management. We also have this website, so you're welcome in. If you back just the Pearl, Pain in Early Life, and that website is for parents, for professionals, and our research is there for you to look up. So to summarize, democratize singing. I want to give you the strength, parents out there, to use your voice also as a pain alleviating resource, because parents live singing and speaking during an infant's painful procedure is feasible and beneficial for parents and their preterm infants. That is clear in research so far. Oxytocin levels increase in both infants and parents anxiety levels decrease during their preterm infants' painful procedures if you use singing. Infant-directed singing supports synchronization in the diet, positively affecting heart rate and breathing, and infant-directed singing is therefore a suitable medium for parents to use before, during, and after painful procedures in the NICU, but also beyond, during immunizations in childhood. So, next slide. Keep on singing, dear people. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. There's just so much fabulous information in what you've shared. Thank you so much for the presentation and for the work that you're doing, Dr. Ullsten.
Thank you.
I was jotting notes as you were talking, and some of the things that really kind of stood out, and it was that idea of the importance in the repetition of the song, and that the repetition is part of what creates that sense of comfort. And I think that, I've had lots of conversations with people in my life about the idea of lullabies, and not everyone, I think, of a younger generation now feels that they know the same lullabies that a lot of us feel like we grew up with. But knowing that it's not necessarily the words, it's the repetition and the act of doing it that is so powerful for parents, I think is such a great message to share.
Absolutely. And I would just add that even if you don't know the children's songs from older days, you can use a hard rock melody, hard rock tune, and make it into a lullaby. It's the way you sing it that makes it a lullaby. Not, as you said, the words. The infant does not understand the words, but the infant understands the emotional content in your voice when you sing a song that you like. So take a song that you like and do it and transform it into a lullaby mode. So
Mhm.
that works as well.
Yeah, we have a few comments here I'm going to share, and kind of on that same note, Leah, who is joining us from Halifax, Nova Scotia, saying, your quote there about parents singing is love and security embodied in their voices, and how powerful and beautiful is that statement.
Yeah, I like it that too, either, actually.
And I think it is. It's so important. As a parent who was in the NICU, everything you can do that helps you feel more included and more empowered is such an important step in making the process less traumatizing and more comforting for everyone involved.
Actually, before I became a music therapist, I was a trained voice teacher, and I gave voice lessons, singing lessons to a lot of people. And I noticed that when they were singing, they 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 were empowered to let their voice be heard, but not just in the room where we were singing, also outside the room, in social um, connections to other people. They made their voice heard, and that is a key with singing. When you sing, you can also empower yourself to be advocating for
Mhm.
your infant
Well,
in,
and
in the NICU, and talking up, speaking up for your infant and yourself and your needs.
exactly, that it's so important. And then you were mentioning towards the end there that, if you can start this practice and this habit while you're in the NICU, that it can continue on. The singing isn't something that needs to stop. You can continue this, at vaccination appointments and other procedures, and in that same way keep that sense of empowerment and being able to speak up. What a huge difference this could make for so many people with something that seems so simple.
Exactly. It seems so simple, but it's a lot of communication going on in the singing, and it's fantastic medium to work with. I'm really amazed every time I use it with parents, and it's not that I would like everyone to have a music therapist, but every NICU should encourage people and parents to use their voices. And to use their voices, perhaps they need a music therapist or someone else that encourages them to use their voices, because it's really important. As you said, skin to skin contact and breastfeeding will not stay. I mean, it will be pain alleviating methods the first year, or perhaps a couple of years in the infant's childhood, but later on the voice will be there as a continuum for a long while, as a safe haven, you can say.
Yes. I think it was interesting when you were speaking. I was taking in that idea that, it's there's so many forms of communication happening, in that video that we played. And you were pointing out, it's not just sound. There's so much else happening.
Yeah, it's the warmth from the skin, it's the touching, it's the as I said, love in the voice is the closeness, the heartbeat. So really the combination with singing and skin to skin contact is fantastic to combine.
Yeah. We've had a few people just thanking you for sharing your wisdom today from Prague, Czech Republic, from Mississauga in Ontario, from Chile, a neonatologist joining us. And I'm thinking how powerful it is to have this message of yours and the research going out into the world and into NICUs, because like you say, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a trained music therapist in the room if you can have everyone else sharing this information and encouraging this activity. And I think it was so important, the point you made about, how much easier it might be to convince parents and family to do this when they're in private rooms and not in an open bay concept.
Yeah, absolutely. But my message is really, my take home message is the singing is free. It doesn't cost anything. And it's so healthy for the one who sings and for the one who listens. And also when the parent sings with the infant, it's a mutuality. It's reciprocal. It's really a communication going on. The infant is responding, and that gives signals to the parent, and then you kick off this communication is going on, and it's a start of a whole attachment process.
It's just it's so beautiful to think of, and also to realize, what a gut instinct it's been for centuries for
Yes.
parents to do this. And now you and people like you are taking the time to show us, this is science as well.
Yeah.
And there's a reason people did it, and here's why we need to remind people how important it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and to share all this work, and to wish you all the best in the next steps, because as you said, this is still just in the early phases.
Exactly. We are continuing actually doing this research. So thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's been watching and commenting and sharing your thoughts. We appreciate everyone who's joining us. I'll remind you that the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation is a charitable organization. It's thanks to our sponsors and donors that we're able to continue to present things like Preemie chats. If you have some time, you could please head to our website. You can see it canadianpreemies.org right there on your screen. You will find the ability to replay and share this Preemie chats as well as our others. And I will remind you that Preemie chats takes place here on our social media channels every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, take care.